very special today. We are having a live stream. As you see, we're on Twitch right now, with a bunch of special guests from the ElixirConf 2022. I almost said 2020. Oh my gosh. 2022 is the year. The conference will be in Aurora, Colorado at the end of the month, going into the beginning of September. Oh, and if you can grab the actual dates for me, that would be lovely.
August 30th through September 2nd.
Thank you. And here, my lovely co-host, Owen Bickford, and our first special guest, Max McClure. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Cindy.
You have the best background. I mean, I know it's the actual room you're in. I know we talked about this when you were on the podcast a few months ago.
Is it that long ago? I don't remember.
I actually thought it was longer, but if I actually count the months,
It's only been like about 2 months.
No, not 2.
3 months? Wait, it was in May. I can't do math. Fine.
The year has been a blur, so
time is
it
a
happened some time ago.
construct.
Yeah.
I mean, like, speaking of Colorado, I've already been to the mountain region like twice this year, and I've never been there before in my life. So this is just like a crazy kind of situation for me. And 2022 has already been a ride. So yeah, it's interesting. Well, okay. So a lot can happen in 2 months. Anything new, anything fun with you, Max?
Well, I just got home from being in Indiana for a few weeks. I went to my cousin's wedding and I played my violin there for the processional.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's been
How long
the
have you been playing
big fun
violin?
thing. Ooh. My first violin was a Cracker Jacks with a ruler taped to it. I was probably about 5 years old.
Wow.
Oh, that's good. I love that. My first violin was a rental from a place I ended up working at later. Shout out to music and arts. I think it was 4th grade. Yeah. All right. Looks like we have some more guests here. We've got Jeffrey, a very zoomed in Jeffrey Matthias.
Yeah, let me see if I can fix that. Hey there.
Jeff in the background. You've got my favorite color, the purple,
Hello.
the lavender. That always reminds me of you, honestly. That's like lavender Jeff in my head. And Natalie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did we just get like a community roll-in? Is that what happened just now?
Just got communityed.
Oh my God. Already like a noun, a verb, the whole thing.
One of the first things you get used to at community is having to get over the fact that the word pops up a lot, and like you eventually just stop saying like no pun intended, right? Like it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's like the part of the onboarding or the transition phase when you first come on is just like having to recognize that like you don't have to call it out every time you accidentally used community in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I'm still learning that.
Natalie, are you the newest hire for
So
the
I've been
three of you?
I believe so, yes. I
Yeah.
joined last November.
Nice. Well, how's it going?
It's
Just
been
pretend
great.
that Jeff and Jeff aren't here.
Yeah, honestly, it's been really amazing. Just learning a lot. The team is super supportive, and the technology itself is really interesting. So being able to kind of dive in and dig deep into the things that we're doing on a day-to-day, learning something new every day has been really fulfilling.
Cool. Well, not even a year in, already a speaker at ElixirConf. Congrats. Congrats to all
Thank
of
you,
you,
thank
except
you.
for Jeffrey. No congrats to you. We're just here for moral support.
No congrats to me.
No, Jeffrey is definitely a special guest. I wanted Jeffrey here to help facilitate our wonderful conversation with all of our guests along with Owen. So Jeff, what's
And
up?
I was just going to point out, I actually did help with the project that they're presenting. So
Oh, okay.
Did we get a sneak peek, or like what's it about? What's the talk about?
Sure. Who wants to start with that?
Yeah.
I'll take a quick crack at it, but I will say that this has been Jeffrey's idea for years, and he had gotten to put a lot of work into it with another collaborator, Adi, who was also working at Community at the time, and they found a ton of blind alleys and what not to do And by the time we all regrouped together, we were able to actually make this work in about the span of a week. But that also, like, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's like 9 months of R&D beneath that for figuring out what to do. But that's a lot of sandbagging. What does it do? We have a documentation problem for maintaining a lot of our endpoints for existing large API. And the maintenance of that is pretty manual and ad hoc, and eventually has a lot of cobwebs. But we are pretty militant testers, and we have extremely good test coverage, especially on all of our endpoints. So how do we get all of that into a representation that is intelligible to a front-end developer or someone less technical in a product? So we landed on open API specifications and have some pretty nifty metaprogramming magic that will grab plug cons off of tests, drink up all of that information, and slowly accumulate a full specification from that.
It's really cool.
So one sentence explanation is it uses your test to write open API specs.
Bingo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jeffrey's better at this.
Can you make it so that the specs could write your test though? Can you just flip it?
But that's actually terrible.
I'm
No,
sorry, the lazy came out.
No, it's not even that. It's that it's not terrible, honestly. Because we do have a problem where you actually have a bit of a chicken and egg problem, right? So when we spec out new work, we have a contract that we work with our front end developers, right? That we need to meet, and technically our docs from the library that that they're talking about doesn't produce those docs until after the tests have been written and the implementation has started, right? So that said, writing open API spec by hand is really painful and tends to be fairly error prone. And so we're still kind of working on that transition phase. But as Jeff said, like, we're dealing with the fact that we have a lot, 3-4 years worth of API work that we've been struggling to maintain the documentation for. So this definitely addresses that problem. And then we're working on the flow for new work.
Cool. Max, what's your test setup at New Perio? You got anything fancy going on? Since we're on the test subject.
Nothing too fancy. We do stress making sure everything is fully tested, a lot of unit testing, some integration testing, and our projects are, since we have so many different projects going on, we don't have a lot of documentation, just what's generated in your internal docs. And yeah, nothing too fancy. Just doing some TDD on occasion.
Just some TDD.
Just not a loaded statement or anything.
No, not at all.
Has anyone else played Fiddle over the weekend, or just Max? Like, we want to start like a little, live stream jam session here.
My violin is in the corner, but my bowstrings are so completely messed up that the humidity over the last 5 years has disintegrated the glue that holds the bowstrings in place. So the bowstrings are just.
It's probably time to get your bow rehaired.
I know. I just gotta find somewhere in Baltimore that'll do it. Yeah. It's funny how when you live in an apartment for so long, you're like, I can't play any of my instruments. I'm gonna bother everybody, literally everyone. And now that I've moved to a house, I'm like, wait, no one can hear me.
Marble, it's time for violin lessons.
Oh God, my poor cat. Although the last time I opened my case to tune my violin with the violin out, I came back to put the violin back in it, and my cat perfectly loafs, like she fits in the violin case, like she just fits in it.
Just poured into it.
She fits, she sits.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
I feel like this case was actually made for you, not my violin.
Tommy does not fit in my case, but he'll stand under my feet while I play, and he'll look at me if I squeak too loud.
True.
Does he like swat you if you hit the wrong note, or he's like?
It's more like a cringe, like, oh, that wasn't right.
Jeff,
My
I was gonna
wife plays
say.
the violin. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No,
I was
please.
gonna say, Jeff, we have matching snake plants. It looks like,
Do
although
we?
yours is a little bit taller.
I bet yours loves the humidity though.
Does it? This
It
is
just-
a brand new bud. This one wasn't here when I got this plant. It was, and then it just clawed out of the ground, and now it's a full situation.
That's amazing.
It's
It's cool
fun.
to see that growth.
Yes.
Snake plants are awesome. I've been intending to get them for a while now because they're one of the highest oxygen producers. So
Oh, no wonder I can
especially
breathe better in
versus
my
Hard to
office.
the
kill.
required maintenance.
Hard to kill. Yeah, and cat friendly. That's the important one.
Snake plants.
Oh,
I'm making notes.
by snake plant.
Mhm.
This
Natalie, where are
podcast-
you calling in from? I think you're the only one we don't know where you are.
Yeah, I'm in White Plains, New York, so about 45 minutes north of New York City.
Cool.
Yeah, so I actually just moved here with the same time I came to community. I was in Jersey City prior, so getting used to needing a car to get around.
So you decided to get a new job and a new life and a new house all at the same time, basically.
Basically, yeah, why change one thing when you could change them all? No, but
Oh
it's
my
been great.
gosh.
I actually moved closer to family, so given the unsteady times, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you're the only Elixirist that moved out to New York. I feel like there were 2 or 3 other people who moved to about an hour outside of the city, and that was like a common thing I was hearing. I cannot remember who, but maybe as we get more guests today, somebody will remind me.
It'll pop up.
So we're all of us here are attending ElixirConf. We're all speakers except for me and Jeffrey. Oh, and do you want to quickly talk about what your talk is too?
Yes. So I'm talking about doing a WebAuthn or like passwordless authentication in LiveView, which was a little bit of an adventure. So so there's a new thing called passkeys. So it's like WebAuthn isn't exactly new. It's been like support has been growing for that in the browsers. So it's a client-side API. You have to access this through the browser. So for LiveView, it means you have to write some JavaScript hooks, which is just fine. And so ultimately, I'm hoping that I will be able to release a drop-in live component that you can just put in your Phoenix application, maybe run some migrations, and then have password-free user accounts, that's the dream.
Sounds super cool. Definitely going to your talk.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's coming along pretty well. So I don't like to usually wait to the last minute to make my slides. So I've got my slides put together. I'm kind of curious, is everyone like opening keynote right now, or like how far along are you on your preparation? I'll go with Max.
Let's see. We had a very thorough in-depth outline finished last week, and this week we've been migrating and putting it all into actual slides, and our slide deck is done, and our designer is helping us make it look good because I'm not that great with how to make things look good and appealing. And Nikki and I have started practicing our runs to make sure that the timing is right and getting down what we want to say. So it's coming. It's a first time talk for both of us, so we're both getting kind of nervous and want to make sure we have lots of practice time.
So Jeff and Natalie, are you double teaming a single talk, or do you have a couple of separate talks?
Yeah, we're both going to be presenting on our talk, and
Cool.
yeah, we're getting there. We have an outline, starting to migrate into slides very shortly.
Scrolling through GIFs and Unsplash just for hours, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we just the biggest part was deciding on a theme for our demo, so that took a while. but I think we have
Yeah.
a good one. I'm not going to spoil it.
Not to freak anyone out who is a speaker. However, Jim sent out an email yesterday that said, LiveStream 12 days away. Can't wait to see you guys. And I was like, oh my God, sorry,
12
what?
days.
12? I can't even
Right.
think about what I'm going to do next week.
I definitely got the jolt receiving that one.
Yeah, I was like, once you put it in a number, like, okay, you say 2 weeks away, that feels, because 12 days is really 2 days less than 2 weeks, right? So if you say 2 weeks away, that just feels so far. It's half a month, you know?
It's 2 business weeks. It's like, I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if they were
yeah.
spread out, I don't know.
But 12 days. So that's fun.
Definitely excited. It's like riding
Not
a roller
freaking out at
coaster.
all.
You don't want to get on it first, but then once it's done, you're like, wow, I could totally do that again.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some kind of energy about going to the conferences that I really enjoy. Speaking of that, Jeffrey just reminded us that NervsConf is happening attached to ElixirConf. Jeffrey, you want to talk to us a little bit about NervsConf?
Yeah, so they do it in coordination with ElixirConf. I believe like Todd Rezadek is definitely one of the organizers. I don't know if he's got anybody else on it right now. Todd being he's like a Hex core team member, and just he's actually part of the Denver Elixir community. So Jeff and I know him pretty well. But it is it looks to me like so it's done. It actually happens on site at the same place as ElixirConf right beforehand. And so I attended it last year, and like ElixirConf was great, but NervsConf is where I got to do like actually hands-on playing around. And given that I like Nerves to me is something I'm interested in, but not something I get to do professionally, right? And so like it absolutely fed my desire to learn. I often attend like ElixirConf and the other conferences. A lot of it is for like networking. But you know, and the talks are always good, but honestly, it's usually catching the recordings later where I find the things that I'm like actually growing from or getting, you know, that are challenging my ideas or helping me kind of broaden my perspectives. And NervsConf is just getting to play. It was pretty cool last year. Everybody who attended actually got some hardware through the sponsors. Oh yeah, there you go. So it was a Raspberry Pi 0W with a little LED hat on top of it. And we spent time actually networking our devices so that we could send messages and have them show up on each other's stuff over the local network. And it was one of the coolest uses of Livebook that I've seen so far too, where we showed up and the entire curriculum was basically like, hey, go grab this Livebook. And then we kind of worked through stuff on that. So just fun. And it's a fairly affordable conference. It sells out pretty quickly, so I highly suggest next year people keep a lookout for it when it gets announced, and just stay on top of it. And especially if you're making it to ElixirConf anyway, it usually doesn't require much more of a commitment financially as far as like staying, because if you're planning on showing up the night before the conference anyway, or in this case, it looks like conference is starting on Wednesday afternoon. So it's not even an extra hotel night or anything like that. So, and as a side note, I'm actually not attending ElixirConf this year. I used my my work conference budget on going to MPEX Mountain, and since I didn't get a talk accepted, I didn't get my ticket covered. So, yeah, and you know, it's just a reminder that like the conference is not cheap if your work is not paying for it. So,
Yes.
Indeed.
but I will stop over and say hey to folks in the evenings.
Yay. So
Yeah.
that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Is this anyone's first time at ElixirConf? Max, Natalie, maybe?
I was able to attend virtually last year, but
Okay.
yeah, first time in person. Been to MPEX a few times, but yeah, it was really great just even being able to attend virtually. A lot of great talks.
Nice. You know, Natalie, did I meet you at MPEX?
I think so.
This is like so awkward. I think I had the best photo I took at MPEX might have been with you.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I think I
We need
just
to
remembered
track
this.
this photo
You've
down.
You've got a really distinct glasses shape. And I was like, this is very familiar. I'm so sorry I didn't put that together until just
No,
now.
that's that's okay. We need to find this picture though.
Yes, I will totally find that. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I mean, no, we're a small community. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, yeah. I look different on Zoom, you know.
Yeah, with and without legs. This is what I'm saying. It's a big difference.
Right.
Right.
I think the first time I met Sophie, the first thing I said to her, the first thing I did was like go like this. I was like, oh, it's Sophie. Like I had to block out the Zoom
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, Sophie's amazing though. But yes, yeah, she's everywhere. But when you see her in person, it's like, oh, Sophie.
Mm-hmm. Very distinct personality, face. You see her and you think Italian pasta, the history of it was her lightning talk last year. Was it? I think it was at ElixirConf last year
Yes.
for sure. Max, what about you? Did you attend virtually last year or is this your first time full stop?
This is my first time full stop.
Amazing.
Yeah,
You have so much fun.
I'm very excited.
Yeah. I've not been out to Aurora yet, so I've seen some pictures. I've seen the e-brochure. Looks pretty large.
So Jeff and I are laughing because people are like, oh, I'm going to Denver. And we're like, you're going to this one very isolated, like megalithic building in Aurora by the airport. You're gonna, it's an experience. I hadn't been there until the ElixirConf a couple years ago. Jeff, what are your impressions?
So I was not able to attend the ElixirConf that was in Aurora, despite
right.
living in that town. I had my reasons, and so yeah, I haven't been to the place despite
That's
being.
right, I forgot about that. My bad.
A 30-minute drive. I could scope it out in case the joint this weekend.
I've been to Denver vaguely. So I wasn't supposed to. Vaguely is the best word for it. You'll understand why. Vaguely.
Vaguely been to Denver.
I was going to Colorado Springs and I knew my layover was in Denver. I wasn't going to get out. I don't count layovers as being to a place unless I step out of the airport, which I did. But that story is that I was supposed to go to Colorado Springs, but Denver airport is massive. And my layover was already kind of short. It was like 30 minutes maybe. And then my flight was late. So my amount of time to get from one terminal to the next was so short that I was pretty sure I was going to miss my connecting flight to get to Colorado Springs. I was going with my team, my figure skating team, and I texted my coach and I was like, hey, I think you guys are getting out of Denver, right? Like you're getting out at Denver and driving to Colorado Springs. I might need to get in the car with you because I don't think I'm going to make my connecting flight. But PSA to everyone who didn't know this is breaking your contract with the airline and they will not let you get back onto your returning flight because it's called skip lagging, where you can you could get a cheaper flight somewhere, but get out of the more popular city if your layover is at the big hub. So you have to tell them what happened. So when I tried to check in online, it didn't work. I had to go to the airport and explain I was going to miss my flight. I had to just do what I had to do to get to the place I needed to by the time I needed to. And they were like, all right, you can come in.
That's a good tip. Thank you.
Vaguely is what I'm saying. Okay. We have found this photo.
Nice.
That's
I was
amazing.
mad for a minute because I was like, we had a selfie at Impex with Amos, and that wasn't your favorite. Okay. But no, this is better.
Yeah.
Kind of made better.
I like
I'm actually
Amos,
standing right next to Natalie.
I know, that's amazing. I'm so glad we located this
Not only
photo.
have you met her, but you spelled her.
Oh my gosh, this is wild. I mean, this is a pretty epic photo in my book, though. I'm just really excited that we were able to get all these people in a room or on a lawn.
on the lawn.
Yeah.
This was four of my favorite Elixir people, so that's awesome.
This was in our my oh my gosh, I didn't take any photos last time phase, and I'm gonna get a selfie with everyone. Everyone was mid bite of taco, and I was like, photo.
There you go. It's got to be done. It's got to be. I have a few photos that Meryl took of me because we were in a space where there's varying door sizes. There's a secret door in a hallway and very large doors in another. So I have photos of me growing, like as if I took the growth potion. It's very funny. The photos you take at conferences are definitely fun.
Mm-hmm. I made an entire little collage and posted that to Twitter. It's like it's selfie lunch mania. Amazing. So for those who've been to the venue, anything fun? Any tips?
It
Jeff.
is
There's like one Jeff who's been to the venue.
big.
I toured
It
the
is.
PDF.
Yeah. I do
Right, right.
There are a lot of
PDF.
bars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a really big venue. Like the building itself is massive. I think it's probably one of the biggest conference spaces. You know, the hotel and the conference space themselves are actually attached, but give yourself plenty of time to get to, you'll see it when you get there, if you check it out ahead of time or whatever, but give yourself plenty of time to get from where you're staying to where you're going. Like it can take you 15 minutes.
So
It is,
correct me if
yeah.
I'm wrong.
Like
It's
college campus.
twice the size of DIA, and they took out the tram and only used the lazy river. Is that true?
He's saying all this with such a straight face.
I know.
I'm so gullible. I was like, okay, we're traveling by Lazy River now.
Well played, Jeff. Well played.
Good job.
And we have to work with this.
It stopped hurting my
does.
feelings when I don't know, a crowd of 20 just goes silent. And they're like, "Is he for real?"
After
What do I do
looking
with
at the
that?
map, I'm surprised there's not a lazy river. I'm surprised, genuinely.
It does have quite the water like facility, like swimming facilities inside, if I recall. But
I've
Uh,
heard Lazy River Conf for the last 2-3 years straight, and I just didn't really think about it until I think I just like, what was it last week, Owen, where I was like, what is this lazy river? And I sent, it was like zig 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 zigzag. It was just so
Right.
big. I was like, I was not thinking about it in that extent, and I also have not been in a swimming pool in like 7 years or something.
oh wow.
I don't swim. I mean, I can swim, I just don't do it. So no, but it looks like so much fun. I'll be mad if I leave without doing the Lazy River Conf thing.
Yes. I as a local, I did not stay at the hotel, and so when I was there, I was just showing up for the day, and so I did not take advantage of the swimming facilities. But there are something also like 4 or 5 restaurants like in the building, which is good because as it turns out, it's really hard to get to anywhere else without a vehicle. So you really are kind of isolated in that building. It's a bit of a weird
What do you mean
experience.
difficult? Like no Ubers in the area, or
Um,
what?
it's in a place like you can get Ubers, but they're going to be over by the airport, which means that there's going to be a wait for them to get there because it's kind of isolated. Like there's some residential neighborhoods around it, but there's not any real other commercial or anything like that. So there's not a lot of in and out traffic. So you can get cars, but they're going to have to come probably from the airport, and then it's actually kind of separate from everything else. So anywhere you want to go by Uber is going to take you a while to get there as well.
How long would you say it takes to get like downtown Denver from the resort?
Boy.
I'd probably say 20 to 30 minutes. Probably closer to 30.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I do kind of really enjoy, I mean, for an event like this, I do kind of enjoy a venue where, and I haven't been to this one specifically, but I do like the idea of everyone kind of being in the same place and there's a lot to do in that area. But you know, you could walk into one restaurant and then, oh, there's that person I haven't talked to in like a minute. And then you go over here and it's just like, oh, this is one of the sponsored happy hours. And you can hop between them rather than having to jump around Austin or jump around a city and try to pick and choose and then have FOMO when you went to the one where your friends weren't at or something. So it's kind of fun to have that.
I think it works well for a conference. It does not work well for sightseeing or actually trying to experience the city. And I think that's
true.
Yeah, but you're right though. I think that's a great call out is that especially like in Austin, it was going to take us 20 minutes to get to a happy hour. or 30 minutes or whatever, then like you find out there was another thing. You're like, well, I'm here. Right.
And you're okay with
Um,
jumping around, but if they're in two different directions, it's like a little
Yeah.
difficult. I learned this. I went to a conference in Pittsburgh and there was a boat, like a boat dinner, they call it a river cruise, but it's just like a
Boat dinner.
2-story boat.
That's-
Yeah. Boat dinner is the
Boat
right way to
dinner.
put it. But honestly, this was the best this might have been the best vacation I've taken in the last wait, that was 5 years ago. Let's just say in the last 10 years. Because all of my friends from all around the world were on one boat. I had no
Couldn't get away from you.
reception, so I couldn't do any work if I tried. And, the food was good. We had drink tickets, the weather was great. The skylines were gorgeous. Pittsburgh is a lovely, beautiful city. Everything was black and gold. And it's like a little obsessive with their branding, but it's fine. And it was just so relaxing to just be with everyone I wanted. Like everyone I wanted to be with was right there. So that's kind of the same vibe. I feel like I'm going into the mindset of ElixirConf with. It's just like everyone I want to see is here. So, well,
Yeah.
sorry, Jeffrey.
Oh yeah, right. Oh. But well, that's okay. You
You'll
said
stop by
everyone
in
you
the
want.
evenings.
You said everyone
You
you
said-
want to see, so it's all good.
You'll stop by in the
understand.
evenings.
Like
Ah.
family reunion with less chair throwing.
Less chair
Chair
throwing.
throwing.
Let's cheer throwing.
So yeah, Max, is your whole team joining from New Aperio, or is it just you and Nikki?
It'll be me, Nikki, and Logan Leger, our CEO and boss, will be joining us as well.
Nice.
So it'll be the three
Fun
of us.
times.
Yeah.
And is it you're all three of you were first time at ElixirConf?
It is for Nikki. I don't know about Logan. I'll have to ask him.
Cool. Is there
Mhm.
anything in particular, talk wise or otherwise, that you're really looking forward to?
Well, since my talk is about mentoring juniors in an Elixir environment, I don't remember who it is, but there's someone who's on the more senior side presenting about mentoring. So I'm like really excited to go to that talk to see what's similar and what's different.
Mhm.
And so that was one particular. I'm also just in general really excited to network and meet people and be in person. Being in person still feels weird, having being in the pandemic for so long and working remotely. Like most of my interactions with human beings these days are online. So it'll be fun and exciting to have different experiences with people that are not through a screen.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you'll be like comfortable around people like immediately. It's like, so my first conference was last year at ElixirConf, and yeah, like it was easy to talk to everybody that I met, and you can just kind of walk up to any table that has an open seat or any circle of people and start chatting or listening or whatever. So yeah.
The
I-
big
Really fun.
Elixir was my first conference
Oh,
this
right.
past spring, and I'm kind of shy and introverted, and so I didn't really take advantage of meeting a lot of people, and it kind of stuck with my team because most of my team is from New Orleans or like the Louisiana area. So we kind of actually decided that a lot of our team won't be there, and like kind of push myself and kind of stretch my boundaries a little bit and meet more people at this conference. That's one of my goals for me personally.
Right
Come
on.
hang out with us, Max.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
And if
when in
you
doubt,
want,
look for
we
the
can-
lazy river.
Yes.
That's where everyone's going to be.
And we can just say, look, Max is famous. Max was on the ElixirWizards podcast.
Yes.
You've all heard the talk at some point, the podcast episode, and we can just push you out there.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
I think, and you're so right about just like how easy it is to quickly kind of strike up a conversation with somebody, because I think one of my top memories from ElixirConf is at the end of my talk when I gave Jeff so much shit for his question. And then following up after the talk and going, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sandy. Jeffrey said we would be friends." But that was my first impression. And we hit it off right after that, right, Jeff? So
Yeah. Even if you get off on the wrong foot, it turns out. It's a fun time for all.
I always say that I can't turn red, but I think as soon as I gave shit at the end of that talk, I was like, oh no. Because I think Jeffrey, you said, oh yeah, you'd really get along with my coworker. He's currently wearing this really, and I was like, are you sure you're not talking about my coworker? Because Owen always wears a bright shirt. But I don't remember. Yeah. So, and then like 2 seconds after I answered, it was like, Jeff sitting in the front row. It says community on tag and wearing bright shirt.
Success.
I don't even remember what I stepped in. Whatever
It's
you
always
gave me, I
fun to
deserved.
realize.
Mhm.
It's always fun to realize somebody else had a traumatic experience that you're like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I once interviewed
Uh.
somebody a few jobs like 6-7 years ago, and then like a year or two after he had been there, he mentioned, oh yeah, you interviewed me for this job, and that was the worst interview I've ever done ever. Like it was the most traumatic one. And I was like, why? And he said, oh, because I hadn't like I called him on time, but I think he was late in getting back to his apartment. So, and he lived in Brooklyn, and he was like he had an old building, he ran up 4 flights of steps, and he was like the whole time apparently, but I don't remember that. I always start interviews with like, hey, is this still a good time? And he said yes.
Yeah, I think that's one of those ones where people just don't,
Do
it's
you
like,
ever
how
say
are you
no?
doing today?
It's fine, son.
know?
It's fine.
Yeah.
No, but we're still good friends, and I thought it was funny that he told me
That's
that 2
great.
years later. Yeah, I actually went to his birthday party last year in New York, and that was probably another really good vacation memory. You got to really hold on to the good
Yes.
vacation memories these days because they're so far and few between. That's not how you say that phrase.
No, you got it.
Yeah, that's how you did.
Good enough. That's how you did it.
Natalie, what about you? What are you looking forward to talk wise for everyone else?
Yeah, definitely the networking bit, really looking forward to, but also just being able to flex the speaking muscle again. I've done lightning talks in past companies and Munch and Learns at this company. And I think just graduating to a larger scale is going to be exciting. And being able to really dig deep into a certain topic and learn more, not just to help others learn about it, but also to help myself learn about it even better. So I'm really excited about that.
Cool. That's awesome. I want to welcome Nikki to the chat. Hey, Nikki.
Hello.
Hey, Nikki.
Max did say that you were walking your dog this morning, and then you joined, and your profile photo was with 3 dogs. So we got to meet one of them.
It's my
Oh,
little
puppy.
River.
Oh.
Yes. The other 2 are my parents' dogs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is like, what a happy looking dog.
Oh,
I mean, not that they ever look unhappy. Well, no,
Oh,
sometimes they have the frowny things, but oh, look at
yeah, I try
that.
to. She gets a morning walk every day, and then I'm over here on the West Coast, so I was running around. Sorry for being late.
Oh, no worries. This is a drop in and come and go as you need to kind of situation. So thank you for joining.
Yeah.
So we had a chance to chat with a bunch of folks. Nikki, you want to introduce yourself, where you're at, what you're up to?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. I'm Nikki. Like I said, I go by she, her pronouns. I'm over here in California. It's pretty nice today. I'm enjoying the cooler weather. Earlier this week was warmer. I've been a junior developer for the past 1.5 years, a little bit over that. And that's how I've learned using Elixir and stuff. It's been a ride, but it's been really fun. And
Cool.
doing it with Mex has been great too. We were both junior developers together at Neo Perio.
Was Elixir also your first language?
Not my first language. I've had a long computer science journey.
Okay.
But it's in college, I had to take a class where we did OCaml. So that was my first functional. But other than that this is my actual functional, because that's just the class and you only use it for that class and you forget everything. So
Yeah, where do we stand on like college classes making you know a language or not?
No.
I think, Jeffrey, my first experience with tests were the JUnit tests where you just need to like get all the green bars to pass your homework or whatever. You just did whatever you could possible to make those tests green.
That's
Uh,
funny. For me, it was when I was going to dev boot camp. Well, before I knew what software testing was, we had like pre-work that we did. It was probably about 20 hours worth of pre-work before we showed up to San Francisco, and we were running code in the cloud, you know, like on their website or whatever, and it was giving us this feedback, and I had no idea that, you know, at the time, but it was just running RSpec under the hood and just giving us the RSpec feedback. That was the first place I did it. Because before that, the only coding I'd really done was like basic when I was a kid at computer camp. So, yeah.
Yeah. Nikki, how long have you been at New Perio?
I started February last year, so I don't know, but I've just been saying a year and a half, but I think it's a little bit more than that. But yeah, something like that.
Nice. One of my friends started a new job in January, February, and I definitely thought it was of 2021. She was like, "No, Sunday, it was this year." And I was like, "Nah."
Last year, right? Yeah. Oh.
I mean, it's already hard enough. It's funny. I actually another thing I like about ElixirConf is, you know, Elixir is a really small niche environment, so people kind of move from one company to the next with regularity, and every once in a while you get to a conference and you see the name tag and you're like, oh, that's not where you were before, was it? Because you kind of remember the face and the tag, right? Like together. And then I was joking with Jim. I was like, Jim, we got to put resumes on the back of these name tags because you know, like sometimes you associate a person with a place too. So it's kind of interesting remembering those things. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Like you get to the conference and you're like, we see where the grand shuffle has gotten us to this time. But
Like
congratulations
little,
on a
like,
year and a half,
cards.
Nikki.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just imagining little like business card size resumes that you just hand them out.
I mean, like truly the back of a conference tag, like the lanyard thing, that real estate is very underused. And I'm just saying the last 3 companies you worked at would be very helpful information.
Right.
I could see it.
Oh yeah. So Nikki, I've asked, or well, I haven't asked everyone, but you know, you just joined, so I'm gonna spotlight you. What other talks are you looking forward to?
What
Outside of yours.
other talks? Oh my god. I know that Mex and I have talked about there's another talk that sounds like there's gonna be a bit of overlap with ours. So we're like, yes, we must go and listen to that one. But I'm forgetting what the title is right now. So, but like it's also about training up juniors, but it sounds like, if I remember correctly, it's from a like other side of this, the perspective, like the other perspective of doing the training, and we're talking about being trained in what we've learned. So if we can make going to that one work, I feel like it'd be really interesting. I know when we first saw it, we were like, gasp, it's almost like ours.
I found it. It's called Onboarding New Elixir Members.
There we go.
Okay, cool. And who's the speaker?
DeWet Blummeris.
Oh yeah.
It's possible I butchered their name, but
I believe we've seen that name pop up in the Twitterverse. Yeah, for sure. But these 2 answers are reminding me, you know, in the TV shows when they like split up the 2 people and see if they come up with the same story. You totally both answered the same.
Yeah,
Nikki and I hang out a lot.
I mean, it's something on our mind, of course, but I'm just so curious because like I really want to hear what they have to say and like what aligns and whatever, like yeah.
Oh, I just realized, Jeff, Natalie, that your talk has a little bit of a pun. Connect the dots. See you. Who came up with that name?
100%
Natalie.
credit to Natalie.
Thanks. Yeah, it just kind of dropped out of the sky.
Yeah, the previous incarnation was very badly named because we were trying to start the project as we started going, or like as we were like, oh crap, we gotta make a repo. What should it be called? It was tests to docs, and it was terrible. And then basically what happened was after working on this and noodling on this idea for a long time, we had a hackathon week at work. We call it Innovation Week, and I convinced Natalie and Jeff that it would be a good opportunity. I actually asked for their help to get it done earlier, but it was something we kind of had to do in our spare time. And we talked about it and convinced that we should do do that, like try to knock something out in our hackathon week. And that's when Natalie suggested a significantly better name. So yeah.
Gotta
so
love a
good.
pun.
Yep. Now that I'm looking at this list, I'm remembering Tyler Young's talk about felt maps. I'm actually really curious about, because I'm a little bit of a map nerd. I love looking at maps. I like seeing how different people do maps, map boxes in DC where I used to be. So I used to like hear about map developers all the time. And then I think recently Tyler Young tweeted something about Bruce Tate is on this great loop adventure. He Bruce Tate of Groxio, taking the boat around I'm drawing the country right now, but I can't I can't describe this. It's like around Florida, up the East Coast, through Canada, through Michigan. I think Michigan is where they're at right now. But anyways, Tyler Young mapped their like journey in the felt maps thing, and I was like, you did this in a like Elixir. What is happening here? Like this is like unlike any map situation I've seen before. So I'm actually really curious about that. I definitely want to hear more about that one. Owen, what about you? Anything appealing to you at the moment? You like a must-have, must-see conversation.
The talks. Let's see. I think I've kind of skimmed. I haven't read all of the descriptions here, but
well, if you skim, there's one that says SoundCloud. I just hit the mic. I'm sorry.
SoundCloud. Yeah, that could be fun. I think actually Chris Hertel has talked about making an audio library in Zig for Elixir. So there's some interesting stuff happening with Zig and Elixir. I'm sure Isaac will be, there as well. So that one sounds interesting. Yeah, anything that mentions sound or like interactive stuff, that the felt maps, interactive, like multiplayer editing with Phoenix. That's something I've kind of hit on a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and obviously Brooklyn is finally talking about in the wild about using Livebook to teach Elixir. Oh my gosh, yeah. Jeffrey, when did your cat? Oh my god, that is the fluffiest cat.
Is that a real cat?
Is it real?
That face.
Is he gonna be okay?
Yeah, this is Bear.
Oh
Bear, say hi.
Aptly named.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much brushing do you have to do?
The good news is he likes to be brushed. So
okay.
yeah, you're not comfortable, are you, buddy? So he's a ragdoll and has absolutely no spine. Which is why he's currently just chilling out like this. we
oh my god,
he's really playing it up right now too, which is great.
I swear they know when we're on video. They know.
Yeah. We'll walk along, just minding our business, and find him like he'll have collapsed against a wall, like just decided that was where he's gonna lay down, and he's like twisted, like with his face like looking up the ceiling and just like oh. But his fur in the longest spots is about 4.5 inches, so he is a lot of fur. He is also a big kitty cat, to the point where we have bowls that like food dishes that read the RFID tag on the cats, like in the because we've got our cats chipped and only open for the correct cat so that we can control his food. And he's still somehow like he's just a big kitty. I don't know what the deal is. He's got a slow metabolism or something. But yeah, that's Bear. And then we have another one, Miette, who Actually, back to the violin conversation real fast. When my wife plays the violin, she has to shut the door to her office when she's playing because our cat thinks she's in trouble or something and shows up and just meows incessantly and claws at her leg to try and resolve the situation. That cat is actually very Lassie like, where like she'll show up and meow at you until you follow her to whatever needs to be resolved. And so that's why we're giving her credit and assuming she's not just attacking Amy for playing the violin, but instead trying to resolve a problem. But,
Make it stop. Make it stop.
Yeah. But I have a cat door in my office, or a cat door in my office door, so the cats can come and go. Because otherwise they will sit there and paw at the door. And as in true cat fashion, you'll open the door, let them in, close it, and within 30 seconds they're like trying to get back out, right? So I put the cat door in and they didn't use it, and then eventually I realized I had to actually remove the flap because neither of them were perceiving it as anything besides just a wall.
Yeah.
They would still go up to the door with the cat and like paw at the cat door, like, let me in. So
mine knows how doors open. Like she'll paw at the corner, but she doesn't understand how hinges work. So she doesn't understand that one corner she'll paw the wrong side sometimes, which is strategically great for like the kitchen cabinets. But I don't know, she sees the doors open all the time. So she kind of knows which side to open on doors, but she definitely doesn't understand hinges, which I will appreciate. I really like truly looked away from the video for a second. When I looked back, it was just like cat. I will say I zeroed in on it pretty fast, but oh my gosh, what was I even saying? Brooklyn Myers.
Oh right.
That's incredible recall. My brain just turned
Well
into
done.
fluff.
Wow.
There's nothing
This
else.
is how you tell Sunday is a well-practiced host. Oh, what was our point?
Funny enough, it's actually a thing in my brain where I like can't. It feels like I have to let the loop terminate. Like I can't, otherwise it's like an open thread. It feels like an open thread that will keep pinging me until I close it. So thank you for letting me go back to my loop. Brooklyn, before we talked to Brooklyn on the podcast not months ago, like Max. I think it was actually longer than a few months ago. Truly, it didn't just feel like it. Brooklyn hadn't started talking about using LiveBook to teach yet. And so I'm actually really excited to hear what Brooklyn's been up to since then, because the conversation we had with Brooklyn was so great. It was a lot about the different ways that a newbie Elixirist would approach learning Elixir in like today's environment, or today being yesterday's environment, because I think it was last year.
It was, yeah.
And I mean, Brooklyn really does a great job of summarizing talks and blog posts and episodes of anything. And it's exactly how I would take notes if I were to do it myself. So it's kind of like getting the Spark Notes of the Elixir world just from Brooklyn. And I've always said that LiveBook would be an absolutely phenomenal way of teaching Elixir. So I'm actually curious, Nikki and Max, what you think about LiveBook. I would probably suggest you guys go to this talk too. It's an interesting thing to think about, that LiveBook is just like a quick running Elixir example. You press run, it does it right in the browser. So I'm really looking forward to this one for sure.
I think I think I can speak for Max, maybe not, but I hadn't heard of LiveBook until like a little while ago, because we've just been focusing on using LiveView and stuff and not really exploring much other than that. And so it was kind of funny because we were working on our current project, and we wanted to make a little thing that renders all the components and stuff in like one nice place, sort of like Storybook. And I jokingly was like, we should call it LiveBook. That makes sense, right? And then we were like, oh, that exists already. So that's how I discovered.
Oh, you found it organically?
That
oh
would be
gosh.
hilarious. That would be hilarious. If you guys create like a LiveBook like at the agency, and then like, oh wait, we also want to use LiveBook.
Oh
so
no.
we were like, okay, I can't use that word. Never mind.
Yeah, we Owen, were you on the episode where we talked to Jonathan, or was that me and Alex? I cannot recall.
I think it was you and Alex.
Yeah, me and Alex got a chance to talk to the one of the creators of LiveBook. I think Jonathan created it with Jose and like in a not an apprenticeship kind of situation. Jonathan was still in school. But basically his full-time project was to work on LiveBook. And it was a little bit crazy to talk to Jonathan, who's in a completely different European time zone. It was still 4 p.m. our time. It was like midnight his time. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be up for hours. I'm gonna be coding. I was like, ah, yes. I do actually never recall being like this. So I was gonna say, oh yes, in college. I was like, nah, no, absolutely not. I valued sleep even back then. But it was a really, if you're interested, Nikki, that episode's there. If you to hear about the impetus behind my book and how Jonathan kind of put it together. I mean, it's a really interesting kind of concept. And I'm for one appreciate that live book is in the world, and I hope
I was
more uses for it.
Yeah, I was blown away. Like, so I was there at NervesConf last year, Jeffrey, and like, yeah, it was amazing kind of watching, like, you could update this Raspberry Pi's code by running some commands, editing the code in like in the browser with LiveBook, and like it would push the firmware out to the device. It was just like I know a little bit about how it works, but it was still just like magic, you know? So
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite things is when you know how things work under the hood and you're still blown away by them.
right.
Like that's just awesome. And every once in a while we get to experience that, right?
Yeah. Frequently with Phoenix and LiveView. In my experience, I'm like, what?
Yeah, last summer, I think it was last summer, Frank sent me and maybe I think we might have done this in a live stream as well. So maybe he sent the whole wizard team the Raspberry Pis. He was testing out Nerves book using LiveBook. He had already loaded we just had to load up the script essentially to press the play button and load it onto the microchip and put it in the Raspberry Pi. And it's just, for me, having no experience with hardware and not a ton of interest, I will admit, like, I'm not necessarily, my dad's an electrical engineer, and you know how you just shy away from the things that your parents do. Like, yeah, so I was like, okay, circuit board, cool. I grew up around these things. I make sure my cat doesn't eat them. That's sort of the extent of me and circuit boards. But it was actually really interesting for me, even despite that, you know, to have the pieces in front of me that they wired up together quickly. For me, and when I'm learning, like, my learning style is I need to see progress in order to have the motivation to look into the next thing. I know not everyone's like that. They just kind of want to hammer away at the hardest problem. But for me, I need to see something going at the offset. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know. I've been doing this for 8 hours. Nothing's happened. I don't really care. Like, that's usually how that goes when I'm learning something new. So I really appreciated that when Frank put that together. It was so cool to see Frank so excited about that too. And clearly I'm still getting email updates about the Nerves book getting pull requests and everything. So I think it's awesome to see that everyone else seems to be excited about it also. Has anyone else played with that, the Nerves book stuff?
Very briefly at NervesConf, but I think that's the last time I touched it.
Mhm.
I did create a live book a few weeks ago. I was experimenting with some documentation stuff, and I may go back to working on that, but kind of paused what I was doing there for work on the package I'm trying to build for the talk.
Yeah, I actually think that it would also be a really good situation for documentation, right? Because you get to have
Yes.
the code and everything right there.
Right. Yeah. So I was trying to like think through like how to demonstrate like the web auth and stuff, and like how you can use the functions to get all the different credentials working through the system. And I think I will like build that out a little bit more, but that'll probably happen after ElixirConf when I've got a little bit more, fewer plates, you know, spinning.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
could create circus act with all of the plates you have spinning
Yes.
on.
And before we go too far, I want to welcome Christian to the call. Hey, Christian, how you doing?
Hello. Thank you very much.
Christian, where are you calling in from?
I'm in the Chicago suburbs. I work for cars.com. And
Also known
I
as
am...
Original Live View is how I think of that.
Oh.
You were one of the first, right, to use Live View in production? if
We
not the
use,
first?
yeah, we started LiveView before with LiveView before it was even a public repository, you know.
Before it was cool. We're the
That's right.
originals. Nice, nice. And so what is your talk going to be on? And can you give us a little preview, a little teaser?
Yeah, sure. My talk is titled "Have You Got the X Factor? Writing a Refactor Helper." So what I set out to do was to replicate a tool that exists in IntelliJ to refactor a function, basically point at a function, pull it out, move it somewhere else, and then update all the calling sites so that they use that new reference. And I wrote that as a library called X Factor in Elixir.
I've been doing it wrong. I've been searching and replacing and just moving things manually. So that sounds very interesting.
That's what I've done a lot too. You know,
Right.
it's pretty effective. I mean, I spent a couple months doing this tool, so I don't know, like balance out, right? Who
Yeah.
spent their time better?
It's fun when you do that the manual search game and then realize that functions have been aliased or delegated to different things and
Mhm.
tracing that through. So that tool sounds phenomenally just
Yes.
insanely useful.
I feel like every developer has a breaking point where the manual just isn't cutting it anymore. Christian, what was the breaking point for you? Like, what were you doing obsessively or over and over again where you were just like, I got to stop this. I got to make a thing.
Actually, so it's curious that Jeff mentioned delegate. It was actually working on a big delegation refactoring. We had this giant context module in our application that was like over 2,000 lines, I think. And I said, no, this will not stand. I must break this up into different appropriate contexts. And I did that ended up creating 40, 60 def delegates from the original module into the new one. So because I didn't want to do the find and replace game on all the calling sites originally. So it's like, let's see if I can figure this out in how to do this with Elixir. And kind of, you know, but delegate is actually an interesting point. I have to add a test case for that because I didn't think about adding def delegate in as a test case in the new library. So
That's what Jeff is here for.
that's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let my stub toes be a lesson for all of you. Happy to help.
I was just gonna say, for what it's worth, Christian, Jeff ruins all my successes too. So
Oh.
I mean, someone's got to
Yeah.
rain
Stress
on
test.
rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stress test. Rain on the happy path a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
So just in case we have some folks tuning in who don't know what def delegate is, does anyone want to take a stab at kind of talking about what that does for us in Elixir?
Well, I'm unmuted. So def delegate, without reading the docs that I probably should have just pulled up, it allows you to really just abstract away an implementation of a function that can be referenced in another module. So say I have the meow function in the cat module, and I'm writing a soundboard module and I would like to use that sound. I could write a meow function in the soundboard module and say def delegate meow to module cat, and it will just pass it right through. So if you have like pass through functions that doesn't change anything else but want to expose it through like an interface layer, it's a great option.
Checks out.
And
Nailed it.
how is that different? How is that different than just like calling my module.meow or whatever?
It's a nice one-liner and it passes straight through. So it, I think that's the big takeaway for me. There's probably better reasons for it. If anybody else wants to bail me out,
I think I would say, like,
Why
if
you
you
up
want all the users of the code to like interface with one module or like interface with like fewer modules, that's where you would like delegate. Like they could call the cat module, but like they could call like if you just want to like put things in one place so that people don't have to read, through as many modules.
Cool.
That's what it looks like when I'm winging it. So
That tracks with my usage of it. We didn't
Yeah.
want to change all the sort of initial callers where whatever module dot function name, you update all those calls. So we use def delegate so we could keep those in place.
Nice. And Christian, what is another person's talk or another group of people's talk that you're looking forward to at ElixirConf?
Yeah, there is a talk. Let me get the author's name, but it's the one about time, the new way to think about time.
So you wanted to break your brain when you got there?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm always looking for.
Weren't we just talking about time zones?
We were, right?
time algebra.
Yes. Thank
Kip
you.
Cole. There we
It's
go.
like we never actually get used to time, I think does anyone ever, like, it doesn't matter the language or the instance or the example. It's just like, it never makes sense. I don't know. If there's
Well-
someone out there listening, watching, who has gotten used to working with time zones, please tell me what your trick is.
Google Google it. Just like I'll always like if I'm doing it in my mind, there's a 50-50 chance I'll subtract when I should have added hours, you know. That's what trips me up usually.
Christian, did you find the
Testing
author
is
of
the
who's doing
solution.
the one with time?
Testing, yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody mentioned it. It's Kip Cole, time algebra, a new way to think about and work with time.
Oh, it seems like the person I'm looking for is Kip Cole. All right. That's a must see.
I'm going to throw this out there real fast, but if you're dealing with time zone stuff, the best thing to do is from a testing standpoint is people like to be like, oh, it should, you know, they often don't want to think too hard about it. And so they'll say, hey, this should be shifted to hello. This should be shifted over. What you want to do is actually put bad data right on the edge of the time zone stuff. And so like for example, if you're doing a query and it's supposed to be selecting in a, you know, for a user's time zone or whatever, you should have bad data that will get selected if you're, you know, that's a second into the wrong area, right? Boundary testing. I think a guy named Moxley
Couldn't live
Stratton
here
gave me that
without
term,
talking
but
about boundary testing.
yeah. So just putting it, just putting it right at that edge, right? And so that is hands down the way to not have to be thinking through this stuff and to know that you're actually converting in the right directions, that you're making the right conversions. Testing, Sunday, testing.
And on top of that, being sure you set those dates right at daylight savings time change day.
Yep.
Just to really ramp up the difficulty on getting that right. Because I mean, twice a year, right? Twice a year, every year, test
Your code
break,
breaks.
something, the deploy breaks, something goes wrong.
We can't get the fix out. What's going on? Yeah.
Oh, daylight savings happens.
CI is blocking us.
And with that, welcome, Zach.
Hello, everybody.
Nice.
What are your thoughts on time?
Time is great. Let me tell you a story about time. I was working on a relatively large code base recently, and on January 1st, our unit test started failing. And it turned out that we had a module attribute that was hard coded to the previous year that was being used in a bunch of tests. So all of a sudden, January 1st, bam, you have unit test failures out of nowhere with nobody changing any code anywhere, right? So
yeah,
that was fun. Time is fun.
And from the chat, we've got a dad joke for you. You can never get accustomed to time. It is always changing. So shout out to Talk to Me Guzman.
Yep.
Zach, do you want to introduce yourself? Say where you're calling in from, where you're working, and maybe a little bit about your talk.
Sure, absolutely. So hello, everyone. My name is Zach Kaiser. I am calling in today from Tampa, Florida, and I work at cars.com. So I am a colleague of Christian, who's here on the talk. So I have actually a couple of things going on at ElixirConf. Number one, I'm going to give a talk about the story of, so cars.com, we rewrote our entire platform to Elixir. And so that happened over the course of the last couple of years. And we went live to 100% of our production traffic last summer. So a lot of my talk is going to focus on like what happened that day, because there were some interesting things that happened when we went from like a fraction of user flow to 100% of our user base from our legacy platform. So that was really cool. Some of the things that I kind of wanted to have take away from my talk are like, so how do we do this? We did this with a team that was mostly made up of folks who had never worked in Elixir before. So it was a team of like relatively new developers from different backgrounds, all sorts of different backgrounds, from like Java or Node or Ruby, a bunch of different programming language backgrounds. And then all of a sudden everybody was like, okay, you're gonna do Elixir. So it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of learnings that our team did through that process. And then we also used live view for our busiest page. So I think that's like an interesting use case. One of the funnest stories that I'm going to tell is I'll tell the story about how we actually had 100 million live view process crashes per day for like a week after we released. But we were still able to like serve traffic, which was pretty great. And like you could still kind of use the site, which was pretty great.
10 out of 10
so
would do
there's that.
again.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Don't recommend crashing 100 million times in production. It's not fun, but it is an interesting story. And the second thing that I have going on at ElixirConf is I'm actually giving a training on telemetry, so instrumenting Elixir applications from scratch. I'm going to do that with my colleague Ethan. So that's going to walk through pretty much the whole setup. Like, how do you start with telemetry? Like, what actually is telemetry, the library itself, and how to work with it, and then we'll build up from like basic telemetry ideas to things like pollers and reporters, and how do you actually take all of the information about your system, your running system, and put it into somewhere where you can go look at graphs and monitor and send out alerts and stuff like that. So really looking forward to that training as well.
Cool. And trainings are happening on the Wednesday or Tuesday, or what's going on with the schedule for that?
Yeah, so there's a few different, I think trainings are happening on a couple different days. First, there's virtual training, I believe, next Friday. So those are going to be the first trainings.
So in a week.
And I think in a week from today.
All
That's going to be
right.
for live view. We're not
Someday,
doing training
folks.
virtually. We're doing it in person at ElixirConf, which our training is going to be on Tuesday.
Okay.
And then we get a little respite with NerveConf in the morning on Wednesday, and then the conference talks start Wednesday afternoon.
Cool. Anyone else here attending any trainings? Nope. Nope.
I'm
All right.
thinking about going to the telemetry one. It's
So yeah,
If-
it's
if I
like
go to
Zach's raising
training,
his
it's that
hand. I'm
one.
not twisting his arm. I'm not twisting in his arm.
Mhm. I was saying here, like I would like to go, but I think I'm going to be up in the air, like while the class is happening.
Like flying or?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
flying. So
Okay.
just hanging out up in the air.
He's a really good jumper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know,
I'll demonstrate
could be
one,
the
you know.
schedule. Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually really excited. Our whole Smart Logic team will be on premises attending the conference, and we're meeting for the first time in like 2 years or something. And yeah, I'm just excited to see everyone, but I think it does mean that we're going to miss out on some of the training opportunities. So Zach, Jeff, we'll have to hear how it went.
I'm committed. All right.
You are now committed.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's going to be awesome. I think for me too, I'm going to be meeting a lot of my colleagues for the first time ever in person. So
Have you
that's
been
exciting as well.
Have you been at Cars through the whole the whole Elixir redoing the
Replatform?
application in Elixir? Thank you.
No,
It's like, what are the
actually, so
words?
like the first commits in the repo were from January to like beginning of 2019. I joined in October of 2020. So like mid-pandemic, I came on board. And because of that, I've only met one of my colleagues in person. So
And it's Christian.
and it wasn't Christian. It was actually we had another colleague. So I'm in Tampa, right? One of my colleagues moved to Orlando in February, so we've gotten
nice.
together for dinner a couple times, which is pretty cool. We're
That's
trying to
cool.
start a southern office for cars.com.
It is nice when you have a coworker that's like not too far. I moved out to Baltimore, and then shortly after we had another person to start at Smart Logic who is literally 8 minutes away. So I've seen her a few times. It's nice. And then now that our weather is getting nicer, I was like, wait, we could totally work from my porch someday. That would be so great. Like I have a big porch and it would be so nice to just like hang out there and scoop the Wi-Fi. And I have no outside outlets, so we wouldn't be able to charge our computers, but that's fine. Christian, do you guys still go to the office everyone, or sorry, you're not based in Chicago. Is Cars based in Chicago or
Yes to both questions.
okay.
Yeah, I'm in the Chicago suburbs now. I used to be in the city. Cars is located in Chicago downtown.
Right.
Some people go to the office, but it's a
Mhm.
very small subset.
Okay.
Largely, no one goes back to the office anymore.
Yeah. I imagine the hybrid situation is difficult.
Your talk about working on the porch reminded me. I tried to work outside once this year, and the sun was so hot, and I was trying to do something with dialyzer. My computer went into full thermal lock mode. Like it just, I could barely see the screen, but then like it just totally reached the I quit point, and
it noped out.
fully shut down. Yeah.
So how much of that was dialyzer and how much of that was the sun, which is the
50-50.
sentence I'm saying in 2022.
Right, 50-50. If I could have hooked up a thermal electricity generator there, I mean, who knows? Who knows what kind of efficiency gains we would have had?
Oh, wow. That's great. Oh, so good. Actually, I mean, speaking of dialyzer, we just had a coworker do a lightning talk or a lunch talk on dialyzer. And and you asked some really great questions. Are there any other dialyzer talks that we're hearing coming up? I don't think there was anything on the
at the
list
conference.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on the list for the conference.
I don't see anything from the titles about dialyzer, but
yeah. Well, definitely no one's mentioned it being a competition for the sun. So that's
it's not the
great
hottest topic.
Oh
it's
my
not like everyone
God,
loves talking
someone
about
really had to-
dialyzer.
Oh, he had to do it. He had to do it.
Is it? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think that you don't realize you made a pun about hottest topic. I'm not entirely sure if that was intentional.
It had to be intentional. It's Owen.
I
It
don't
hurt too much. It had to be.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever credit I get for it.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I kind of remembered that Cars was in Chicago. I feel like mostly, I think when we had Angel on the podcast, and maybe when I was talking to Angel and at MPEX, we just talk about food. Like it's 80% food, 20% elixir when I'm talking to Angel. And a lot of it's talking about tacos, where the best tacos are, in basically everywhere that we go. But when I went to Chicago in 2018, I made it like my mission to eat everything. And I think I did actually hit everything on my list, but that's what I think of when I think Chicago. Also, it was freezing and I still kind of made it to all my food. So it was a good time. I enjoy Chicago and the Chicago food. And
so at the conference, we're gonna have to hit all 5 restaurants.
yes, absolutely. And you know, when we started off this conversation about like how the resort is kind of encapsulating, so you're kind of like trapped with all of your best friends, but also when I go to a city and I'm really trying to experience that place, I really make it a thing to like try out all the food and anything that anytime I have to like eat the hotel breakfast, I call it like a wasted meal. Like I could have gone out and had like I had a lovely breakfast in Salt Lake with Frank and Digit and there was one more person on the team and I'm forgetting their name. I'm so sorry. They're probably watching right now.
And judging
And you know, it was a lovely like little French cafe in the middle of Salt Lake City, you know. It was so that's what I call a good effort to like experience a place. But conferences are a completely different deal for me. I prioritize people over food, and if you know me, that is a compliment. If I prioritize you over food, oh my gosh, if I'm gonna eat the hotel food to hang out with you, you know that you're high on my list. So Elixir community is out there. Elixir community lowercase c. Had to do it. I'm trying to think. So Christian and Zach, is this your first time in ElixirConf or in person? Because I know they were virtual for a bit. Yes,
Actually,
to both
will
of
be
you?
my first time attending an ElixirConf. Yeah.
Okay.
Woohoo.
Cool.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
going to be my first time as well. So I've been to a few of the regional conferences. Like I've been to MPEX a couple times before. I've been to CodeBeam before, but I haven't actually been to ElixirConf in person. So I'm very excited. I wanted to go the last time it was in person, but I had to actually go meet my wife in Japan because I actually lived in Japan for a while, and
Normal
she
things.
moved over right. She moved
Priorities.
over here right in the middle of ElixirConf the last time, so that's why I missed it.
Ah, and that was when ElixirConf was in Austin or when it was in Aurora?
That was the last one in Aurora.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I think same Jeffrey with the using the company, the one conference. That year it was in Aurora. I went to Lone Star Elixir, which was also the same venue as ElixirConf last year. So last year was kind of confusing because I was like, oh no, I'm at Lone Star. No, I'm at Elixir. No, I don't know where I am. I'm in an ice rink because that's what this venue is, an ice rink. And I was right at home, but everyone else was freezing.
Speaking of ice rink, lesson learned, like bring layers because you don't know how cold that conference room is going to be. It might be 30 degrees in there, Fahrenheit.
It is kind of funny because like you can be cold enough that it'll keep you awake, but if you get too cold, you will want to fall asleep, which is like, that's a dangerous cold place to be in. But I've been in talks like that.
That was totally 10th grade biology class for an entire year for me. So
Right. Pro tip
and
number 2.
I even thought it was kind of interesting. I liked the teacher, but it was so cold there that like my body was just going to hibernate mode.
Yeah. So if you're a speaker, also just bring an air horn just to keep it lively.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah, that is a
Random
great
air horn
suggestion.
in the middle of your talk.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't have that when I did my talk last year because Jeff would have gotten the air horn instead of the answer I gave.
Maybe more talks need a shot clock.
Right.
We used to use air horns to light
Applause-o-meter.
bars, so if you find me running off the stage and jumping into a pool, it's just natural reaction.
Oh my god. Which actually would be possible at ElixirConf. It's like Natalie's running those lazy river. What happened? Oh, somebody set off an air horn.
You know what? Let's just do that talk right at the pool, set up the projector and everything.
I wonder
Poolside
how many
conference talk.
years. I wonder how many years we're gonna ask for this before Jim actually gives us this. The true lazy river conf. It's like the day before Nerves Conf, and it's just talks in the water.
You can be the conference organizer you want to see in the world.
Oh no.
Well played, Jeff.
You don't want me to organize a conference. You don't. You all will be so annoyed with me by the end of it.
Food would be good.
There will be a
The food will be
mandatory ice skating session for sure. Like that will be the keynote, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They actually do have fake ice that people can put on stage. So big stages, they have actually had figure skaters come on. It's like it's a weird fake ice that doesn't melt. It's not even ice. It's like a particular slippery substance. Yeah, it's plastic, or it's weird because like real ice, it's the best, smoothest ice when you get on it fresh, like freshly after it's Zambodied. But the fake ice doesn't work until you've scratched it up a ton. Like you need to get on there with your blades and like scratch it up a lot.
That explains it. I've been on that before and it was horrible, but it was really new. It was done as like those big puzzle pieces. So it was like a movable fake ice floor, but it was awful. And I couldn't figure out how they could possibly have charged me money for this. And now it sounds like it was just because it was too new.
You had to break it in. Yeah. I really studied how to do that because I don't know, like where I lived in DC, I didn't have easy access to an ice rink. Now I live 10 minutes from one and I just don't. I was thinking about my living room. You caught me. But now, I mean, the other side of it is they make figure skate like roller blades that attach to figure skate boots. So a lot of like Olympic skaters are the like spokesperson for this brand, and you can put them on and like go into a roller rink and treat it like an ice rink. People are doing jumps and spins, and I'm like looking at it like that would really hurt if you fall. Like it hurts on ice, but it hurts way more on ground or asphalt. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it though. I think it would be fun. I hear there are a lot of skate parks in Baltimore. I should check it out.
So I didn't hear a no on you organizing the conference.
You didn't hear me say no. You're right. I like how Jeff is on my level with closing the loop.
If it involves trolling, most definitely.
Oh man,
So that's a yes to the conference.
that's a no comment. All right, Mex, Nikki, you're gonna have to tell me, would you attend a conference that was just in the pool?
What is
Yeah,
the
that's a-
temperature like outside?
Oh,
With the
with the
cold
good
water.
questions. Cold water.
Oh, cold water.
Oh, you know what would be more interesting? The speakers are lined up at different sections of the lazy river, and then the attendees
You
go
can
down
just
the
parts of
river.
You like it, you
I
have
don't
to
know,
swim
Jeff, is this
upstream.
up to your standards?
Yeah, if you like it, you swim upstream.
This
Oh
just
my
became a conference of lightning talks, right?
Yes.
Back paddle, back paddle, back paddle. I like this. This is good.
So
That's dangerous with the water, though.
is
Just like
it?
Lightning
hook your
talk.
tube onto something and then
Lightning
Oh
talk.
God, Jeff.
Lightning in the water.
Oh.
I do not want to be in a pool if there's literally lightning. So that answers part of the question. I'll take that.
I don't know if you could tell that I'm really looking forward to the lazy river.
Well, Mex has a lot of experience with a real river. That's not, well, it's kind of lazy up there.
It's kind of lazy, just especially when the river's low. Yeah, I
Which
live next-
river?
the Mississippi River. Yeah. Nikki has actually been out here, and we've done some floating down the river. It was fun.
Yeah. That was earlier, like Zach and Christian, you both were talking about meeting your coworkers for the first time. And so we started last year, everything's virtual, our company's totally virtual and distributed. So I went to school in Minnesota where Mex is. So we were like, well, we gotta meet up for the first time. I was visiting friends from school that got married. And so we got to meet. And so it was interesting because we met each other for the first time and hadn't met anybody else in the team. That was a lot of fun.
Ah, that's awesome. It's always fun when you get to meet someone for the first time. We've got some comments from chat. Random jump scare in between slides.
Yes.
And Talk to Me Guzman's wife is jealous when she found out there was going to be a lazy river. Yes. Everyone be jealous. Everyone be jealous.
Jeff and Natalie, you're meeting for the first time, right? At ElixirConf?
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Which
So
means
I
I've won
keep
up
hearing
Jeff because I've met Natalie.
Aha.
There you go. We should just give the talk. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I need you.
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
the first Sunday, you were the first person I met from Smart Logic at ElixirConf last year.
that's true. That's true.
Because I was joining the company like the week after the conference.
Right.
So yeah.
And that was the first time I had met actually a lot of the Smart Logic folks in person. Other than the ones I'd met before I started. So that was actually really cool. But actually the number of people here who are pairing up to do talks is reminding me that my first talk was also a pair. I did a joint talk with Ben Marks about adopting Elixir. So this is maybe more common than I thought it was. Because the first time I was like, oh, joint talk. That's cool. And Ben's great. And we talk, every once in a while. And it's just like I got to meet a new person, but I had never talked to him before. It was suggested to me. So it's kind of nice when you get to like pair up with a new person. And it felt a little bit like school, actually, where you like pair up with somebody you've never met, really. But like the best of the both, like because Ben's great. It was great. He has a Lucky Cat background. And I was like, I will get along with this person.
Was it like school in that one of you had to do all the work and carry the other one the whole way?
No, actually, it's crazy how adulthood like gets that away from you. It's lovely, actually. I think my brother was still in college when I was doing that, and I told him, yeah, it feels like I'm doing a group project in college. He was like, it doesn't actually though, because you wouldn't be smiling if you
Right.
if that was real. Yeah, I'm actually just like remembering, Owen, how that was the first time I met you and a bunch of other folks. And I think Jeffrey, I think that was when I met you too. And I didn't know you were coming to the conference, so I thought you were your brother. I was like, oh, that
I
looks like
mean,
Jeffrey, but Jeffrey didn't say he was coming, so that must be his brother. That was just how my
so
brain did that.
oh, that's really funny. Yeah. So for folks who don't know, I have an older brother who I'd say is Elixir adjacent. He definitely writes some Elixir code. But he's got a long background doing lots of different things. But the biggest thing is that when we are photographed, we often wear very similar hats, have very similar glasses, and without
That
us
cartoon
being side by
character-esque.
side, it's kind of hard to tell us apart. To the point where he works at Community. He actually is head of architecture at Community, and when he joined, we realized really quickly that people were confusing us in Slack despite our names being there, and so he switched his avatar to being black and white, and suddenly the problem stopped. People would respond to us like we were the other brother. So yeah, so you are not the first to mistake us for sure.
At which is funny because I like never really met or talked to your brother, but I know you have one. But at MPEX, you were walking to the venue from the hotel, and it was really easy to know it was you because we zipped by in an Uber, and I was like, that was Jeffrey. And they're like, how could you tell? And I was like, hat. It's just the hat. That it seems to be always
Yeah.
with you. You put it on just now, like you whipped it out from
Well,
behind your back like a cartoon character.
When you hats become very important when you don't have any natural protection from the sun. So hats become just part of you. And so then it happens to be that I figured out that flat caps are the hat shape that fits my head. So I've got a couple decades now of being bald and therefore being associated with flat caps.
Oh, I am so excited to see everybody. Is anyone here doing any part of the virtual stuff? The virtual conferences, or everyone here is going in person? For the most part? Okay, cool. It was hard for me to tell from the speakers list who was going to be kind of joining virtually, speaking virtually, but generally speaking, I like the like half and half situation. I think it works for a lot of people.
It definitely makes it accessible, but it's hard for me not to think of them as kind of two separate events.
Yeah.
Because there's not, it's hard to, there's no actual distinct crossover, right? The content is actually different. You can get deals on the two, but there's still, and it's tough. Like, to be clear, I don't think that I think it's a nearly impossible problem to solve. Not that it was done inelegantly. Like, I'm not even trying to be critical. It's just tough. But I'm glad that that actually the result of this is that there are talks that are available for people who can't do the traveling, because beyond just safety issues, like as we already mentioned, I live in town and I still can't afford to go to the conference. Like, it's expensive to be able to attend these things. And so I like that one of the outcomes of this has been that.
I think I should know the answer to this, but are the are the live, well, how do I ask this? Are the in-person talks being broadcast?
Live streamed, yes.
Live streamed, yes. Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but they are, yes, I think the answer is yes. Like, no,
I attended last year. They were live.
Yeah.
Like, I saw Marilyn Sophie emceeing between each talk. Like, there were certain gaps, but I don't know if I had a different access ticket or something like that, so I might be wrong. But yeah,
I believe the last time I talked to Jim about the schedule, he said that the virtual piece was happening Wednesday, and then once the in-person conference started, the platform would change to streaming the live talks. I believe that's what he said. So if that's wrong, I'm sorry. I'll issue a tweet. covering my bases.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Gooseman says there's a virtual ticket, and yeah, there's a virtual ticket online. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, there's a reduced cost virtual ticket, which is nice. Looks like
Yeah.
those are still available.
And it's nice to show to show the conference, but to Jeffrey's point, yeah, it's a hard problem. I even like way before the pandemic, I used to work at a company that had a DC office and a New York office, and you'd have like a conference room in DC talking to a conference room in New York, and then every once in a while we were all at home and like we all had to call into a meeting, and all of a sudden it felt like everyone was at the same table. But otherwise, it felt like we were at two different tables. We had a lot of problems with each other because of that. The communication was just different. And then when we had some like more, I want to say professional help, it wasn't exactly, we had like mentors come in and kind of like try to help us figure out a better workflow for everything. And they mentioned that it's really got to be all or nothing, all in person or all the other like virtual, in order to really give everyone an equal footing, which is like is a horrible thing to think about in like this environment where we have to try to be hybrid. But it's something I think about all the time, because like if your company has like 5 people who are in the office and 5 people who are sitting at home, and everyone who calls in to the conference room from the conference room, they're able to put themselves on mute and like have side conversations, and they're like in their own room, like a sub room in the big room. And it's just a little harder to like equalize that. So it's a hard problem, really hard problem.
It was my first, well, basically from November of 2018 until the pandemic started, that was my life, where I was one of the very few remote developers at a company that was, we continued to grow more and more as we got international developers and stuff. Like so to the point where right before the pandemic, we had about a third of engineering was remote. And so I'd regularly attend meetings where there were 5 people in a room and I'd be 1 or 2 people on a TV, and being one person is okay. Being more than one person on the TV is actually bad, because you're literally competing for resources to be able to talk in the room, because there's a single mic and it's actually going to pick whoever, it's not giving both of your voices at the same time. And you tend to have to be a little bit more aggressive when you're in that position, because you're otherwise ignored. It was pretty rough, to the point where we were trying to push really hard for people to just do attend meetings from their desk, even if they were in the office. So that was actually one of the major silver linings of the pandemic, which ultimately really sucked, was that community ended up going full remote. Like to the point where we do not have an office anymore. They made that call, I think half a year in, was that that we were full remote. And that was great, because then it meant that we could start like we didn't have to try and get exceptions for people that we were trying to get on board that weren't going to move to LA or didn't live in LA, which is how we got people like Natalie. So yeah, but it was a huge shift. And in fact, it just completely, having everybody on just being online completely does shift the dynamic for the good.
Christian, Zach, since you all at Cars are in a hybrid environment, how's that been affecting you, or have you been like mostly remote at the company? I mean, Christian, you said some people go to the office, yeah?
Yeah, well, I was actually just thinking about that. So when I came onto Cars, and just before me, we started hiring engineers regardless of location, so remote or in Chicago. And then with the pandemic, we made all the entire engineering department became remote first. But I didn't actually think about, I was often in the office, and I didn't realize what a different dynamic it is as like the one person who's not sitting in the room. That must have been really challenging, because we had basically that setup where we would have 3 or 4 people sitting in the same space, and then there'd be one person, one engineer like Zach or somebody else who we hired who was not remote, who was remote, and they were the one who had to call in and try to participate fully.
But Zach called in from Florida palm trees or from his
Japan.
office.
Oh
Or
yeah,
Japan.
like especially
Zach worked. Fun story. Zach worked almost every day at Skyline Chili.
Yeah, no. Okay. So actually
now I'm hungry.
I moved from Cincinnati. So there's a lot of Skyline chili, Cincinnati chili jokes thrown my way. It's great. It's delicious food. You should all try it. Just order buckets of it.
Oh my gosh, on the list. Got it.
No, but I think, actually since I joined like peak pandemic, then like literally everybody was remote. Nobody was working at the office when I joined. So it's been pretty much like full remote since I started. And I think now that some people are going back to the office, like Christian said, it's a very small subset of people who are in the office, that now it's actually the reverse of that, where there's like maybe 2 people on a Zoom call that are in the office that are sharing the same computer, and then they have to like compete for resources to talk into the virtual chat, right? So it's kind of like
That's
completely
funny.
flipped
Yeah.
on its head.
Oh yeah, it's even worse because then there's like the echo and then the talking and then it's like the pain of having to have a meeting with somebody who's not using headphones. Oh my gosh. And I don't know. Another fun thing about remote life is getting to see everyone's pets, which on that, Max, have you been hiding a dog this whole time? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he just popped his head up. He has a
Aw.
He
mattress.
blends in
that-
with your
I
like black
know.
background.
Let's see if I can.
Oh
Hey,
no, the tongue.
there-
Saw the tongue.
Yeah.
There he is.
Puppy.
Oh, so sweet.
Tommy,
Big
come here.
paws.
Come here, buddy. He's like, no, I just woke up from my
Aw.
nap.
That's
like,
serious cat
Come down to my
energy.
level. Yeah.
I was about to say, is that a dog or a cat?
Pretty
Come
big
here.
cat
No.
if that's the case.
He's like, I'm down here.
Our,
This is where all the pets happen.
Mm-hmm. I do
Oh,
appreciate
come on,
that.
you can do it. Yes.
There it is.
Oh, big stretch.
Dog.
I love that collar.
Yeah.
Thank you. I picked it up at the Pride event in Minneapolis this year.
Nice. I do appreciate all of my coworkers really forgiving and accepting the fact that my cat demands belly rubs in the middle of my meetings. And I just
Yeah,
have to like
there's-
lift her up and
Yeah.
like lay her across my chest and like give her belly rubs while I'm talking.
And
And-
always in the same position. She's always like stretched out, blissed in her face, just getting all the rubs.
Yep.
In the past, I had a
Oh,
coworker
oh,
who
fluffy.
actually would sometimes be late to meetings because his cat needed to be walked at a certain time every day.
Around the
so
house or
sad.
around the
No,
block.
Outside.
around the block, like outside. Yeah.
The
I
thing
mean-
is,
Well,
when you
cats-
come up
cats
with an
don't
excuse like
negotiate.
that, you've got to
Yeah,
commit
cats-
to it,
Yeah.
right?
Cats
You
don't
just
negotiate.
you gotta commit. to
I
that
think that's
excuse.
exactly it. Like, not to mention the fact that if a cat is used to a thing and it is not happening, you are not going to get anything else done until it happens.
Or not going to sleep.
No. That was, what happened was that was an experiment that happened once and then was set in stone for the rest of of that existence. Yeah, like Santos, this black and white cat, you might see, like he demands, like he has his own demands. We won't get into it, but like I'm sure, like half the time during meetings, you'll just hear like a desperate cat meowing in the background because he's not getting his way. But cat life.
My children are definitely more respective of my office boundaries than my cats are. So, but that's also, I
Indeed.
guess, because they can't. My kids can't fit through the cat door. So,
Yeah, they don't jump up on the desk and prance around.
yeah.
Max, what is this pup's name?
This is Tommy.
What a fluffy.
Yeah. He's about 10 years old. And I
Oh,
think I
thought that was
adopted
a
him.
puppy.
He's kind of a grumpy old man. It's fine.
I found a lost dog in DC one time and I definitely thought it was a puppy. And when the owner came, she was like, oh, he's 11. I was like, what? He was really small, very energetic. He like wanted to play with all of the tennis balls that we had like put out for him. And he was really like cute. He would ask permission to go places like from the living room to the bedroom areas, or like,
Oh,
can I get onto the couch? Am I allowed? He'd like put a paw up and we were like, yes. And he was like, okay. I guess a puppy would do that now that I think about it. So we're getting close to the hour. I want to first thank everyone for coming. It has been a lovely experience getting to see again and meet some folks, or realize I met some folks already and then reintroduce myself to them. So all good times, all fun stuff. Maybe we can just like jump around, and I know we've said all this stuff, so maybe like just like a thought you have on ElixirConf. When we started, Zach.
Thoughts on ElixirConf
Wish.
is number
Or-
one, you should come to the lightning talks at the Lazy River because lightning and lazy rivers go together very well, clearly. No, the second is I think it's great. There's going to be like a lot of people there that I'm really looking forward to meet with. So even if I don't know you, please come say hi. And I have a few things that we could talk about, like hallway track. Like outside of the 100 million live view process crashes I'm going to talk about in my talk, there's like other crazy things that I can talk about too. So feel free to ask me crazy story questions. Be happy to engage with that. Yeah, that's all for me. Looking forward to seeing y'all there.
Nice, thank you. Christian?
Yeah, this is going to be really my first time traveling for like since the before time. So I'm filled with anxiety about that. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be tough. Like walking into a room full of people. I don't know. I might just freak all the way out. Who knows? Don't talk to me too close, I guess. That's my request. Come say hi from there. Give me a familiar wave from far away.
Will do.
I definitely was one of the people at last year's that was really rigorous about masks, where there were plenty of other people, but just stick to your guns, do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Nikki, what about you? Thoughts on ElixirConf?
Well, this
Hope
is,
streams wishes.
I don't know if we have time for all of that. But this is my first ElixirConf, so really excited about that. And also first time speaking, so both excited and nervous about that. And but I'm really looking forward to being able to do a talk with Max and get to share our ideas. And I think, I mean, of course, we've got a lot more practicing to do, but what we've done so far, I'm excited to share with everyone. So looking forward to that. I'll love traveling and love Colorado. So just generally going to Colorado is always a big plus for me.
Awesome. Natalie?
Yeah, I'm really excited to learn again, just being at a conference again, but also to hopefully teach something or at least have folks walk away with one idea. And being in that role this time is going to be really exciting. As Nikki said, pretty nervous, but once it's over, I'm sure we're all going to feel really good.
Cool. Awesome. Jeffrey, what about you?
Well, wishes. I wish I was gonna be there with you all, but I'll do the best I can to pop in the evenings if I can, to say hi to folks.
With your cat?
Wait, no. But I will be at NervesConf right beforehand, and hopefully, people who are watching somebody will be there and would love to meet you. So
Cool. Jeff, what about you?
I'm looking forward to meeting my co-presenter. And yeah, excited for Christian's breakdown, and I hope to be part of Zach's hallway track conversation because I've got some other stories of suboptimal shelling out to bad things all the time in Elixir, and it lets you get away with that. And I've got some horror stories that I'd love to contribute. But yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's been a lot of fun getting to meet a lot of y'all before the conference, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and just having a social collegial relationship with the broader little C community, but also excited for the big C.
Nice. Max, how about you? What are you looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to giving my first talk. I'm so grateful to be doing it with Nikki. We've been experiencing a lot of firsts together the past year and a half or so. I'm excited about that. And as I kind of mentioned at the beginning today, a bit introverted and shy, so I'm really glad I got to meet people here as sort of a preemptive introduction. So I do enjoy meeting new people, so please reach out, and love to get some food and just connect with people in the Elixir community. It's been a really fun getting to know people, and it has a I don't know, as different sparkle compared to other tech communities that I've been in. So I've really enjoyed it. So looking forward to more of that.
Such a good way to put it. I really love that. The sparkle. So sparkling on to Owen.
Sparkle,
it? Who
sparkle,
got
sparkle,
it?
sparkle. Can't wait to start sparkling at ElixirConf. Yeah, so I guess I've got a handful of talks I'm looking forward to watching. Like equally excited just to hang out in the hallway and after parties and hotel lobbies, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I guess like when in doubt, if you see some people you're going to talk to, just walk up and say, like, start a discussion about whether dynamic or static types are like the way to go. Conversation will ensue.
No, you're trapping people right now.
Yeah.
What a
That
troll.
will be
I
a
thought that was
lively
Jeff's job.
discussion. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Cool. So yeah, thank you again to all of our guests for coming today. I think the thing I'm looking forward to is actually getting a chance to like sit and listen to the talks. I feel like usually I'm running around preparing for my talk or helping, like I forgot to give somebody my HDMI input thingy and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna run and I missed something. But I will really be in the room because, fun fact for everyone who got to tune into the end of this, me and Amos King will be emceeing the conference. So that's going to be a fun time. I saved that till the end so that we could actually get to have a teaser, So I don't think it's been
Yay.
announced yet. So I figure I'll just mention it here. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's going to be my first time emceeing and I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, it's been a really fun time. I'm so excited that we all got a chance to chat and sort of like feel out the room. Now we're familiar with some faces, so we can jump in and just like get going once we get to Aurora, not Denver. Sorry, been saying it wrong this whole time. Aurora. Sweet. So that's it for today's live stream brought to you by ElixirWizards. Thank you for all of our guests for joining. I'm Sundi. My co-host is Owen. ElixirWizards is a podcast produced by Hanger Studios and is brought to you by SmartLogic. Here at SmartLogic, we build custom web and mobile software. We work in Elixir, Rails, React, Flutter, and more. And if you need a piece of custom software built, please let us know. And otherwise, come say hi to us. We're also sponsoring ElixirConf, so we'll be around. We'll be there to chat. And to everyone watching at home, I hope to see you soon on the webs. Thank you.
Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle.
Sparkle, 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 sparkle.
Everybody
Thank
sparkle.
you.
Oh man, we've replaced jazz hands. Oh dear.
Yes.
Alrighty.